Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us this afternoon for this roundtable for a very strategic topic. How do cybersecurity leaders practically integrate AI into their teams? As you know, we are talking about AI everywhere, copilot, automation. But concretely, how can this technology are changing the practice today, how the models are working, and how the organization can adapt on a technical aspect and human aspect? To answer to these questions, we are lucky enough to have three experts, speakers with very complementary vision. Farah Rigal, Deputy of Head of Global Security Service at OCDV. Exactly. Arnaud Jumelet, National Security Officer at Microsoft. And Ahmed, CEO and co-founder of Qevlar. Thank you all three for being here. First, I would like us to take a step back about the evolution of AI in our industry. We talk a lot about LLM but AI in cybersecurity is very old. There are different approaches. So my first question, why AI is that much needed today and for which actors? Yes, AI answer to a problem that at Atos, as a service provider, we meet or more and more is what we call the skills shortage. We need to find enough resources that are trained to answer to cybersecurity needs. Why AI? To answer this challenge, according to analysts, it can represent hundreds of millions on the coming years. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have the end users or clients, organizations that are pretty mature on security. And these users want to be sure that they have a value that the partner and service provider can really provide them the best value for money. And it often goes through automation of the process. Automation is not just to earn more money. It's also a proof of quality, productivity. A robot is never tired. Is never have a hangover. So yes, there is an interest. But automation that we've been using for decades now, but we always have the same issue, the sustainability. And when the whole ecosystem is changing, automation are becoming a legacy. With whole systems to provide. So we have to, AI helps us to get rid of a lot of things, and it is teaching us to work differently. And this way, it is easier to use, to maintain. So why? For the whole spectrum, as us service providers or end users, it is very legitimate today. Thank you, Farah. Maybe you want to add something? Ahmed, Arnaud? Yes. Why AI for the defenders? A lot of people are wanted for cybersecurity positions. We do not have enough training and it doesn't go fast enough. There is a lot of work when we see all the attacks that are also automated. Just to give you an idea of the volumes for Microsoft, we analyze 84,000 billions of attacks. Every day, hundreds millions of passwords every day, so the attackers haven't waited to use automation and AI for their attacks. And more, there is a need for the defenses to be at the same level. And that's the need in today's context with these attacks. We have to take it into account. And when you're facing this situation, we do realize that we need more and more to fight against the faults of any kind with automated setting also, because what the attacker can do is that they look on internet for every open window or door to give you this image, and they will look all the issues and the setting is default. So now we have an obligation of result. We have now a law for mandatory for cyber hygiene, and we need tools to do that on scale. So we need also for the technicians, for the operators to we need to make their job easier to see what is more important. I totally agree with what was just said by Farah and Arnaud. And what we see from our side is that indeed AI is already well used by the attackers that didn't wait for us to get this technology, and we need more people. We are lacking human resources, and we can be drawn by all these attacks. For example, through emails, it is totally automated on a large scale. That's something that we see with our clients, and I guess that all of you have seen it. Generative AI can, for example, scale up social engineering to write down emails on a brand new scale that are very convincing. And the idea is to bring AI tools on the defense side to find this balance in the situation, because for now the attackers are superior for the reason that we just described. Another topic, when we are defending, only one open door is enough. And naturally, the attackers have the high grounds. So we need to adapt new technologies to see how through AI, generative AI, which is a real game changer, how can we imagine a world that we try to build that will be safer from a defensive point of view, where these tools will help us to scale up without the fault of the automated tools that we had that need a lot of maintenance, that had to be adapted, for example, for playable statics, with a bit less deep analysis. So yes, I guess we are totally aligned on this, and AI is here to stay and to remain. And according to you, what would be the AI typology that you consider as the most promising? Arnaud, maybe? From Microsoft, we have a hybrid approach. We use predictive AI with algorithm, classic algorithm of machine learning to detect attack patterns and anomalies. We also combine generative AI tools to plan and anticipate the action that we have to take for remediation, for example, but every time there is a cost, and our objective is to find the most acceptable possible solution. And these great LLM are quite slow, or very slow. When you want to treat them in real time, it's not possible, because this real time takes 5 minutes, so it's not that real time. So the idea is to combine the techniques that we have known for 15 or 20 years with the new ones. That's what we are trying to do. Also, there is new uses, for example, scams or false technical support. In a few weeks ago, we had a report. It was the fourth threat for the day with a fake IT support scam. And today it is difficult to identify the pages sending a false message telling the user to call a phone number, and against a few coins you receive this support, but it's of course a scam. These pages are only hosted for 2 hours, so it's very fast. Turning the hosting very fast. So list of malevolent URL, it does not work. So now we developed a scareware blocker. It is a small vision model of SLM in Edge. It's on a local scale, and we analyze the web page to see if it looks like a scam or not, and if so, we notify the user. It's a different approach and a hybrid approach to also preserve privacy and to be sure that nothing is centralized, but it is an AI that can be acceptable to make the situation safer for the users. When I talk about hybrid AI, I'm also talking about smaller models and local scale. Thank you. Farah, would you like to say a few words? So your question was the most promising AI. Indeed, we don't want to replace. We are rather focused on a specialization of incremental building, because machine learning AI for the behavior, for threat hunting, proved their value for data exfiltration or these kind of cases. Machine learning embedded to detect encryption activity and to block any decision possibility with reaction capacity embedded. On these models, very analytic, started from a use case, started from very precise example. And yet, of course, they still need to make progress on reliability. Maybe also on energy consumption. So these models are very useful. Behavior AI for access solutions and identity, all the technologies that help us to identify a person, not just with what they know, but also through the behavior of the last 15 minutes on their different devices. It is working, it is increasing, and I think that we are in a more humble system now where AI should be specialized. And maybe with just having a supervision AI of sorting, but a global AI that would do everything, I think it's not really the end game now. We are very pragmatic. We are looking for like AI agents developed by Microsoft that were released recently. We are looking for autonomy in execution, a toolbox for everyone to increase their own capacity by creating autonomous AI, and also being more humble with where use cases may seem a bit specific, with conditional access for the profile of the new provider. It's very niche. Yes, but by specializing and incrementing, we can create a big impact. On this aspect, our vision is that historically, for years now, probably a decade, we always had embedded AI in defensive cyber for statistical analysis, behavior analysis, that was used for the needs of detection. And maybe it had an impact. Not everything was possible to be explained. And the impact was that it generated a lot of alerts, a lot of noise for the teams that are still human teams that needs to analyze the alerts. And I totally agree with what Arnaud said. For generative AI, of course, it's a game changer, but it needs a lot of resources. So we cannot get syslog or raw log and send it to the LLM asking it to analyze for a lot of economic reasons. It doesn't make sense. Some AI do it very well to find weak clues of suspicions. They can then be treated. So our vision on the most promising AI, thanks to AI, generative AI, it is very strong to treat non-structured data. That was the weakest post by the time, because I needed an entry point to have the same output. So our vision is that we still have to have this hybrid system. At Qevlar, where we have very important examples of generative AI to read everything, to have analysis, for example, for an email, to read the email, to see the tone, to read a whole firewall log to see if the behavior is okay or not. And on the other side, we use more classic AI on graph, for example, to check the playbook and see where they should lead the investigation, asking the right questions. We use LLM as a mean to accelerate access to information. They can be very diverse, and AI on graph to represent a more reliable brain, because LLM, we know the issue is also hallucination, and consistency is also one of the issues. Sometimes you ask them to lead an investigation, to analyze an information, not just a simple prompt. You do it 3 times, you will probably have 4 different answers. So the good aspect of a control AI is that you can control it a bit more, and combining the two, you have a very important impact on performance, global impact of defensive teams. One last point. New models can increase this analysis dimension. For example, for vision, we have, just like Microsoft, a tool that allows us to do that, that will inspect a URL visually to add a new layer that by the time was only done by humans. But it takes a lot of time. So once again, this question of volume, it's very simple for an attacker to draw on a defensor. It's easy to reach, for your attack to reach. And we have a lot of AI that were exploited to providing new values, because it's easier to influence and more consistent. But maybe for the first time, it opens a new era where we can push further automation and the defense capacity of the organizations. Can we really integrate today these models of a SOC analysis, and how? So yeah, coming back on what I just said, our point of view at Qevlar is that detection tools exist. They're not perfect, but they exist. And what we see today is that this idea that the analysts are done treating all the alerts that are flagged, and as you say, Farah, it's hard to find a good analyst and to keep them. We have this fatigue, this burnout. It is a reality. And what we can see is that we want this team to be relieved from the very tedious task using all these models. And all of them are bringing that part to the job, and combined they can to really increase the efficiency of the op teams, to really focus and to have a better ratio of noise versus signal. And as humans, we still validate the outcome of an AI. The AI won't, at least not with us, start a remediation, for example. They can decrease the quantity of handwork, but the objective, and I guess that you will agree, Farah, is to create an AI that can interpret. You have the possibility to check all the collected logs, the complete traces of the investigation, and AI that can be audited also for compliance questions. For 100% of the investigation done by this tool from Qevlar to find the whole traceability and to make it simple for the analyst to understand why AI took an action, why they consider that this alert is dangerous, why it shouldn't be. So yeah, that's the stakes for AI to be at the service of op teams and to spend a lot less time on this and more on active treatment, because if we minimize the quantity of information an analysts have to tackle to reach a conclusion, for example with graph, where LLM can limit the lecture of the graph, we can have a more active treatment based on the alerts that we treated by the past. This way we can make connections and go deeper, more efficiently, and to be proactive, while today SOCs are just reactive. Because as I was saying, there is this question of volume. So this question is complex. There are several angles, I guess. But our point of view is that we want to relieve our human analysts.
In relation to this, what are the critical limits you can observe with generative AI? The reliability was talked about. We also talked about the environmental aspect that can be mitigated, choosing the right AI for the right use and finding what it is more efficient for. And the highest barrier is data protection. This is why data protection, when AI is consumed in SaaS mode, it's a shared responsibility. So we know the difficulty to these types of models, but everyone has to take its part in terms of governance. But we also have to be aware about the risks that may reach the value delivered by AI, protecting the training data, the input and the output of the model, to protect the data that was used for training, because it can be induced from the model, to protect the model itself, which is also an intellectual property, to respect and comply with the authorizations and rights that were entitled to all entities. The whole approach can be combined in governance frameworks, and there is a certain maturity in the way these risks are considered in order to mitigate them. I remember Ahmed was smiling. You have to love AI to accept its flaws. And all the AI enthusiasts will say the same. You have to accept not to master everything. You do not always have all the cursors to put all the right thresholds, and you have to accept that it helps the happiness in the SOC. Our analysts have their AI in their hands. We exited from the former corporate AI projects, but rather in the hands of an analyst that is valued in his job of threat hunter, and to generate the right responses. The idea being to have the right value and a better value. Yes, I go in the same direction. I want to complete the model as such is not the app as such. Behind the model, it's not enough to take a model that is half open to make it something perfect in terms of cybersecurity. There are many protections to be built. Maybe other components that will check that the product content is related to what was asked, facing new dangers, to see if there are malevolent prompts. So these are new components that will be an additional burden. The training is important there. Some technologies can help you do that. So there are technical dimensions to be taken into account before reaching an acceptable agent. In Microsoft, we are quite cautious. We only do triage, and economy is quite limited. It's always an agent that's working, and then the operator, the human being, is intervening to give the go. So we scrutinize all these topics, but it's not as simple as that. Thinking that the model itself would be enough is not correct. Many other things are to be taken into account. AI has to be accepted with its flaws. It's like a colleague or someone, a junior, a trainee, that may be wrong. And you also have to be cautious. Of course, you should not give the most difficult job to someone who is quite new in the company. It's not always obvious. That's where we are today. To amend, but to go in the right direction, we all agree. Today, regarding the LLMs, the main barrier is, on the one hand, is that there is an hallucination risk that you can cancel or curb strongly. And you also add a truthfulness layer. So this reduces drastically the risk. The major risk is that of consistency. Many companies with Microsoft, you created a security co-pilot. We have co-pilots that are a first use of LLMs, but the validation is made by human beings. That's a way to circumvent risks. It's one way to do it. As I said, it is theoretically possible to do it in a different way, using different models, or the system I explained earlier on. But the idea is to be consistent. If you want to devolve cyber analysis. What is cyber? It's a confidence business. If the analyst has to investigate a similar issue in two different ways with two different outcomes, well, I'm not sure you're going to use it for a long time. So that's something that is really important to bear in mind. And it's not the solution to everything. You have to work with a certain number of data that have to be worked upon, control the format, but that's not the miracle solution. The flaws of AI should be decreased as much as possible. And you have to integrate human feedback and to put context. We have a module that helps you do that. Either context in terms of organization, saying that the server is a test one, or it's a payment server. So we really want to be careful because we don't want it to be attacked, of course. That's a first way to tune AI so that it understands the stakes and the challenges in an organization. It helps to fine-tune AI to your different clients, because according to a client, the behavior will be different. And it is very useful to integrate a human intervention so that the model can understand whether it's a tricky or not situation, a small provider, a big provider, etc. Well, sometimes you have small providers. AI can be warned, but little by little they will understand the context, and this helps you decrease the AI flows. It's also a confidence sector. This word is absolutely essential in this context. Avoiding a black box AI, it's important. At any point, you should be able to edit any decision and to understand the motivations behind the decision. And it will change the way you interact with anything. In the future, websites as we know them today will be very different. There won't be any buttons. Everything will be doing everything for ourselves. It seemed totally crazy, but it's coming. So there is a new UX to design, a new interface between man and machine. We talked a lot about AIHM. Well, this border is more blurry. You don't need to index things as you are doing today. So it's essential to understand how AI works and to create an interface to understand an AI that is much more powerful than we are in terms of calculation. Ideally, they will come back with just what we need so that we can judge if it's dangerous or not. So these barriers should be lifted. Many of us around the table work a lot on this issue. And these are important issues for our customers. Thank you all. For the last question, what are the future? What future holds? Yeah, I will take my crystal ball. I appreciated the fact that AI has become more humble. I cannot predict the future, but I think that AI is powerful only if it's used, if it is pragmatic, humble, and can be integrated. Everything that you have said, the efforts that have been made so that AI becomes generical, absolute, that can reason. Everyone was looking for it, and I was part of the people who were doing so. But we realized that between AI that solves the black swan paradigm is not obvious. We made a test earlier on, ask your AI to create an image with a full wine glass. It won't be able to do it because it has never seen any of it. So you have to accept that the holy grail of AI, that will do something unique and absolute will not be the right way to go. But you have to be pragmatic with AIs that collaborate, will be very efficient in their field. The reinforcement learning, taking into account the feedback, is what will take us to a safer world and a more secure one. Well, let's do some perspective. Let's imagine an AI that is more custom-made. They are not self-learning. You inject a little bit of a history in AI, but today you have this issue that models are in read-only. So the issue is to make it acceptable, because with a model that knows everything from you is acceptable if you're sure there won't be any leaks. So the challenge is that one. These models should have a different architecture, and we should be able to provide them with all the history. That's, in my opinion, future prospect. There are still some technical challenges to reach that, but that's something that I foresee, so that analysts and operator can use it with more relevance. It will be refined with your experience. We do not all have the right methodology to go forward. So more useful and custom-made. I think indeed that one of the aspects that was not mentioned up to now, it's agnosticity. That's an important issue, because, and I think AI should bring something on that and improve on that in that field. The ability to generalize and from the information that it is fed with. So that's something we consider important in terms of treating use case scenarios. It means you will have to train it and mix models so that they can collaborate. It's not always immediate. It requires a lot of work, but that's something we hope and see in the coming years. So that's one thing. Second, being able to have smaller models, but efficient ones. We saw it with DeepSeek. That is very efficient and very powerful on the stock market. This will help us open new horizons. Today it's expensive, it's slow, so being able to have smaller model, more specialized ones, and to have a network of models could bring important values to cyber, but in life in general. But AI is not the solve-it-all, but it changes absolutely the way we work. And in a specific context of cybersecurity, we process sensitive data, and it's one of the sectors where AI can bring a lot, but it requires many efforts, human efforts and human investments. Thank you so much to all of you. We have 3 minutes if some of you have questions to ask to the speakers. Please use a microphone, otherwise the interpreters cannot hear the question. Will AI be for SOCs that can afford it, or will it help smaller companies to afford SOCs? The OPEX models used by most of editors help you have small investments, and so you have business cases with big SOC volumes. So the size is not what matters. It's the possibility to have a positive business case, and with AI, when you can divide the processing times by more than 10, business cases are very quickly profitable. In relation to that, it helps you work 24/7. It helps you facilitate such tasks. Human beings still have a role to play because, as Farah said, AI is only as good as the data that you have provided. You can take the best analyst in the world and you send them a warning without any context, they won't be able to give you an explanation. The same goes for AI. So a lot of value is added by humans. We saw it in the past with the detection part, and we hope it will help improve cybersecurity of organizations. One more minute, one question. The interpreter cannot hear the question, as the speaker does not use a mic. To be wrong and to be, well, it's a critical spirit, training people. I think it's also through experience. Maybe the operator that is too confident and does not respond to an alert or does not respond correctly because they did not take into account what's written, well, it will help them be slower in the future. But you have to raise the awareness that it's just a tool and that can be wrong. But how can you raise the awareness without trying? I don't know. Normally it works. The challenge is to make sure that AI is not very often wrong, but it will happen. The more they are right, and the more you will trust them. So you will tend to check less and to monitor less. It's important in that context to have an explicable AI so that you can understand quickly what the model did. If you spend 10 minutes there and realize that usually they are right, well, there is a high probability that you won't do it again. Second element, to add within the product to make sure that the analyst be questioned on the AI approach in order to sample a behavior, to make samples, to force a review by an analyst, change analysts to decrease. We are now leaving the normal world and going to a more quantum world. The advantage of cybersecurity is that it can learn. Our approach and our vision is that there is a first level, is that to facilitate the understanding so that the analyst can quickly understand things and how AI has reasoned, and to build viscosity mechanisms. And to complete, as yesterday was April the 1st, maybe it will be necessary to send mystery visitors, to send warnings that are not correct, to test the alertness of the analyst. Maybe we could do this so that mistakes have no consequences. And maybe some regular tests might be useful in that context. Thank you so much for your presence, for the quality of your presentations. Don't hesitate to come and see us in our stands, in our booth. Have a nice fair.